vegetables and this.
Back to the NFL, the Rams have loaded up on the defensive side of the ball with Ndamukong Suh, Marcus Peters, and Talib. However, they are also loaded up on personalities. This doesn't seem to concern head coach Sean McVay, who said, quote, "We're not afraid to bring in as many good football players as possible." Coach, how hard will it be to manage Suh, Peters, and Talib all in one locker room?
Yeah, that's going to be tough. That's a challenge. I think that when you go through the season that the Rams went through and the success that they had, that's fantastic, and that comes with expectations. And then you go in the offseason and you try to add as much talent as you can. In New England, there was always the mantra of we're not collecting talent, we're building a team. And how are these parts going to fit into the team concept that's there? You look at Ndamukong Suh, he's going to be the highest paid player on that team at $14 million. And he's going to cost Miami more in dead money than what his cap charge would have been. So it was $26 million in Miami. So there must be a reason they moved on from him. Marcus Peters, to me, was a guy that I thought was as talented as Darrelle Revis when I watched him coming out of college. And I was excited about that, but I think there were challenges from his history and some of the things that he had done, and the fact that Kansas City was willing to move on is pretty shocking. Talib, there's been issues there. So you start adding those pieces. How are they going to fit in the locker room? How are they going to fit together? And typically it doesn't really come to be a big problem unless you go on a little bit of a losing streak. And then suddenly it's like a fuse is lit, and you have to deal with the
You can only take so many of these guys, and when you talk about Suh, when you talk about Talib, you know these guys are hired guns. They've been Pro Bowl players. They've made a lot of money. They've also played at a high level. Talib has been a winner. The big difference between him and Suh is he's been a winner. He's been to the playoffs. He's been to Super Bowls. Like, he is in the hunt year after year. And Ndamukong Suh, I believe his battery can be recharged because he's playing with the best players he's ever played with right there as a defensive tackle in Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is one of the best defensive linemen, and I believe in Suh what he sees on film, because I've been watching the film of Ndamukong Suh. His film is not that impressive. You know, he plays hard on certain plays, takes a number of plays off. He has gotten double teamed a lot, but we're going to be able to isolate him, see him get single locked, and there is no more bigger mismatch from offense to defensive football than you have in the interior line when you have someone like Ndamukong Suh and you put him on a center who is undersized or a guard who is not as athletic. So I believe that this is the time for Ndamukong Suh to be the Ndamukong Suh that we saw in Detroit because of what Aaron Donald. Now, their overall personality, now God bless you, I believe it's going to ultimately, if they win, it won't hurt them. But as Coach said, when you're losing, these guys are playing for contracts. They sign one-year deals. So the only way that it's a success is if they play well and they're able to get extended there, or they're able to be more marketable going into the free agency for next year. It is something. It's a storyline that we're going to have to watch as the Rams go forward.
I have a question for you when it comes to what you said about the Patriots. I thought that was interesting. We're not collecting talent. We're building a team. We're talking about the cornerback position for two of these guys and interior D linemen for Suh, obviously. Are those, particularly the corner position, is that a position where it is maybe okay to worry more about talent than team building? I say that because I understand why in New England you want, for the wide receivers, very precise routes, going to be able to communicate with Brady, going to know exactly what everyone's doing. I feel like the corner, if they're going to play a lot of man-to-man, as Wade Phillips, at least as he did in Houston when he was the D coordinator there, I feel like as they are likely to do with Marcus Peters as the #1 corner, Talib was the #2. Is that a position where really the most talent is what you're concerned about because they are isolated from the team to a degree, more so than a middle linebacker is or a tight end is? Like, is that
Coach, can I jump in there real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
It takes more than talent to be a good teammate. You're doing so many things that you're depending on each one to be there. They take attendance every day. Denny Green tells me this: I don't take attendance to see who's here. I take attendance to see who don't want to be here. So all the things, the mundane process of putting a team together. When you go to a team photo, is a guy going to be late? When a coach asks a guy to do something, is he going to do it? Because they got a lot of young offensive players. They got a veteran defense. But those young players, when a coach says something to me, and I used to always give the coach the authority, man, you can say whatever you want about me, man. Don't call me out of my name. Don't call me no MF. But anything else, you can say to me. You can say it in front of a young guy, a veteran guy. You can say it in the film study. I just don't like to get cussed at. I don't respond well to that. But man, if they couldn't coach me that way, there's no way they're going to be.
Regardless of position, it doesn't matter what position.
Regardless of position. Now, we might say that because he's a wide receiver, we might allow it. But when you're trying to put a team together and you're trying to win a championship, this is just not no ordinary team. This is a team that's trying to get to a Super Bowl. It becomes very important, the overall attitude and the overall athletic discipline that each player collectively has. This is a new program. Sean McVay is still a baby in the NFL. Like, don't think he got this thing figured out, that he can just handle a bunch of renegades. As Coach said, there is a reason why the Dolphins decided to eat $26 million. Marcus Peters, being young, one of the best corners in the NFL. There's a reason why they got off of him. Talib, we know his story. Google that.
Right.
I mean, you can find out along the way, man. He's had trouble and success along the way everywhere he's been since college.
And Andy Reid has dealt with some difficult personalities in the past and done it really well. And a corner is equally important to Kansas City as it is to the Rams. Adam Gase is a young head coach, and Ndamukong Suh has moved on, and now he's on his third team. Aqib Talib, he's done some outstanding things playing corner, but as Chris said, he's moved on multiple times. And the idea that a corner can operate in a vacuum, it doesn't work that way. The secondary is much like the offensive line. Everybody's got to communicate. Now, if you want to play cat coverage, okay, you got that cat, you got that cat.
Or Deion. But still, Deion was still not a bad teammate. Deion was a great guy. Deion was always prepared. Deion would never get credit for his overall film study and understanding what offense would try to do to him. And he was the #1 cat and the guy who invented, that cat coverage.
And look, if you're going to do it for one guy, you can adjust for everybody else. But when you start trying to accommodate 1, 2, 3, then the offensive guys looking and say, well, look, they can do that. Why can't I do that?
What the Rams know is this. The 3 best players on their team are all on rookie contracts. Donald, Gurley, Goff. Over the next two off seasons, really, they're going to have to extend all 3 of those guys. So they're going for it this year, and maybe, going to have to deal with some locker room issues to do so.
Cat coverage is that cat, that cat,
Yeah.
that cat?
Yeah, you
I got that cat. Coach got that cat.
Your football was so complicated.
Cat coverage is one of the simple ones.
Clearly. Coach, we'll see you a little bit later in the show. Coming up, LeBron says he's the MVP, but is he right? That's next on First Things First.